Do you guys think that Pete bailed on the Niners and Eagles too quickly after their individual losses? He moved them down to 4 and 5, respectively, 3 spots each. We'll get to the rest of the top 5. You can probably guess who they are. But I'm curious, Wilson, do you think this is, I mean, it's just still top 5 teams. It's not that big a deal. Actually, let me rephrase this. We talked about this some on the Sunday night show, but which of these 2 teams are you more concerned about moving forward, the 49ers or the Eagles?
So I'll repeat what we talked about. I think we all agreed on Sunday night. If there are longish-term concerns with Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, it's going to be the 49ers. I think that was just a one-off for the Eagles. I don't think Jalen Hurts is throwing 3 interceptions every week. Brock Purdy did throw his first interception. The weather was bad. I think they can overcome the losses to those 2 fantastic players, but I don't think it bodes well for their long-term success. By that, I mean January. I'm okay with the top 5 breach where Pete has them sorted out. I might think about moving the Lions higher, but I don't have any real issues with how this thing looks.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would be more concerned with the Eagles. Obviously, we talked about the injuries. Assuming all these teams are healthy, I'm more concerned with the Eagles between San Francisco and Philadelphia just because of what Jalen Hurts has looked like. I mean, he has 7 interceptions through 6 games. It's not like this 3 interception game was a one-off. He's been throwing picks all season. He only had 6 interceptions the entire 2022 season. So he has already topped his last season's total in just 6 games. So I think that's a little concerning. And if I was Briscoe, I'd probably just keep the 49ers at 1 because even with everyone injured, I mean, the Browns have the best defense in football. We can probably agree on that. You put Brock Purdy in a situation at the end of the game where he had to drive his team down the field for a game-winning field goal attempt, and he did it against the best defense in football without Deebo Samuel, without Christian McCaffrey, and the only reason they lost is because the rookie kicker missed a field goal. So the fact that Purdy did that was pretty impressive. I'm going to use that joke all the time. So I think I would have kept the 49ers at 1. Who do you think is more trouble, Brinson?
I'm a little more worried about the Eagles because what we've seen from that passing. So, I mean, like, I think there's a pretty direct correlation. And we talked about this a little bit on Sunday night, but like Shane Steichen left Philadelphia as the offensive coordinator and went to Indianapolis. Indianapolis is way up in terms of tempo and pass rate over expectation. And Philadelphia is way down in terms of tempo and how they're operating. And now, like, when we say worried about it, now that stuff can get cleared up. You know, like they can adjust to it. But I think we're seeing some regression from last year's performance by Jalen Hurts. That's okay. Like, people take regression as this thing where it's like, oh, you're saying he sucks now? It's like, no. He took such a huge leap last year that when he loses his offensive coordinator and then he loses his all-pro, like possible Hall of Fame right tackle at the beginning of this game and against a really good front seven, you know, you're gonna see some steps back. And they've blown some of these leads. I think the Eagles had the easiest schedule in football last year. They don't this year. It's really hard. It's about to get harder. So I'm a lot more worried about the Eagles than I am the Niners. Although the Niners, certainly their health issues have been a bugaboo over the last few years. I wanted to look really quick. I was trying to look up DVOA just to see, wow. Football Outsiders now over at ftnfantasy.com. Aaron Schatz has DVA over there. Miami Dolphins, 3rd all-time offensive DVOA through 6 games, behind only the 2000 Rams and the 1999 Washington football team.
Go ahead, Wilson.
I was going to give you a fun fact about the Dolphins real quick. And Florio tweeted this out for Pro Football Talk. The Dolphins offense is so far ahead of the rest of the NFL that there's a bigger difference in average yards per play between the number 1 Dolphins and the number 2 team than there is between the number 2 team and the number 32 team.
All right. Well, I'm glad that Brinson just pumped up the Dolphins with the DVOA stat. I'm glad you just pumped up the Dolphins with the offensive yardage stat because I'm going to deflate the Dolphins. Harry's never going to let me on the podcast again after I say this. Here's what I'll say about the Dolphins. The Dolphins, obviously 5-1 offense looks awesome. They have beaten 5 teams this year that have a combined record of 5-24. 5-24. They have played 1 team with a winning record. They lost that game by 4 touchdowns. So my question is there any concern about the Dolphins playing good teams And if someone came up to you and gave you $40,000 and said, you get to bet $10,000 on each of these 5-1 teams, but you have to leave one out that you don't trust, which one to win the Super Bowl, which one of these 5 teams are you not dropping?
Can you just keep the $40,000?
You cannot. It's in credits. It's in gambling credits.
$40,000 in like we're gonna say what, FanDuel credits?
Yeah, FanDuel credits.
It's in the NFTs that you have.
Right.
That's actually the source of me and Wilson's.
I was ahead of the curve on that one.
Wilson
Let's not talk about it. Moving along.
All right,
No one wants to talk about these effing NFTs. So the Super Bowl odds.
The question is, which team are you not betting 10K on because you don't trust them to win the Super Bowl?
So I get the Niners, Chiefs, Eagles, Dolphins, and Lions.
Yes, the top 5 in Prisco's power rankings.
Based on the and it's I get the odds that they're currently at, right?
Yes.
Whatever you think, it's up to you.
Well, I'm saying the Niners at plus 430. Are in for sure. The Chiefs at 5-1 might be in twice. I mean, the Chiefs at 5. Chiefs are fine. Their defense looks really good. The offense will get going. I'm fine. I tell you, I've been telling you all for a week, like since Sunday. Like I cannot get this vision of a Dolphins Lions Super Bowl out of my head. Aesthetically pleasing for sure. For shark. Like you're talking about 2 teams. Like, oh, it's a dolphin, not really a shark, but you get the point. Like those 2 colors in the Super Bowl in Vegas. Like I don't know. I kind of like the idea aesthetically. So I'm going to toss the Eagles out.
Ooh, Wilson.
That gives me. By the way, that gives me 2 NFC and 2 AFC teams. So
hey, can I put more than $10,000 on one team?
No,
I got to split up 10.
Dolphinately not.
Definitely not. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know why Breach hates the Dolphins. I mean, that team beat Mac Jones, so they're automatically probably going to the Super Bowl.
I didn't say hate the Dolphins. I was just pointing out what their schedule has been so far, and they played one good team.
Producer Harry just texted me, and he said, "Why does Breach hate the Dolphins?" ? And I said, "I don't know. He's a terrible person." I think I'm actually. You sort of talked me into it. The both of you a few minutes ago with the concerns around the Eagles, and it's more about Brian Johnson replacing Shane Steichen than it is about the Eagles offensively or defensively in the field. So maybe I'm leaving. I can't believe I'm saying that with the Lions staring me in the face, but they've been so much fun. Yeah, I think the Eagles are the odd team out.
You guys are both taking the Eagles? Oh, man, I can't take the Eagles. I brought up this exercise with the Dolphins just questioning their credentials, but I think you guys both make good points on the Eagles.
By the way, Philly obviously has the Dolphins this week at Washington versus the Cowboys before their Week 10 bye, and then it gets a little dicey at Chiefs versus Bills versus Niners at Cowboys for the Eagles. Like this is the spot where the Eagles at 5-1 probably go 2-1 with the Cowboys at home going to the bye. So they're 7-2. How do they perform on those 4 games coming? I mean, this is like the 4 of the 7 best teams in football coming out of the bye. Like, I mean, they could go 1-3 in that spot. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, like the Eagles just lost to the Jets. They've cut it close with some of these teams. They've dominated some of these games. It wouldn't shock me if the Eagles were suddenly kind of in a wild card, like in a dogfight for a playoff spot as one of those wild cards.
Yeah.
If the Cowboys
based on what we know through 6 weeks, and again, what you just said probably can change in 100 hours, just because that's how this league works. But let's say it's week 18, Brinson and Breach. Again, we're at the neutral field. Eagles are playing the Cowboys for the let's just say for the source of conversation, just for the final wild card spot. Maybe Washington gets hot and wins the division. Who are you taking? Cowboys versus Eagles, week 18, neutral field. Has to win the game to go to the playoffs.
Oh, I'm still Breach by.
Really?
I think I'm taking the Cowboys.
Yikes. I'm taking the Eagles.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you what.
Well, hold on. Let me get my top 5 team. You guys did. I'll do it real quick. I think the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs. I think they're probably going to win the AFC East. But if I'm just talking about the money to win the Super Bowl, the team that probably scares me the most is also the Dolphins. They are the one team on this list that I think really needs to get home field advantage. Because if you look at the high-flying offenses in NFL history, whether that's the greatest show on turf Rams, whether that's Peyton Manning's Colts, those teams played indoors. So you get home field advantage. You're playing indoors. That doesn't slow down your offense. If the Dolphins have to go to Buffalo in January, I mean, we saw them do it last season. They kept it close, but they still lost. So these offenses that are high scoring and high flying and put up huge numbers tend to not put up as big numbers when the weather gets colder. The Dolphins don't really have any cold weather games this year. I think they play at Baltimore in week 17. Who knows if that will be cold, but 4 of their last 5 games are in Miami, which is just insane that the NFL basically has them in Florida for 4 of their 5 final games. So I think the Dolphins playing in January out of Miami, whether it's in Kansas City or Buffalo, maybe even Cincinnati, that would be concerning to me.
Did you see Harry's note to shut up so we can bring Pete on?
No, you're right, Breach. November 24th. Is that why is that game at 3 p.m.?
Oh, it's Black Friday. Black Friday.
I was like, what the hell is that game at 3 p.m.? I was like, that sounds like Thanksgiving. So the Black Friday is at the Jets. Could be cold there. At Washington the following week. I mean, you never know. DC could be a little chilly, but then you're right. 3 straight home games at the Ravens on New Year's Eve, and then the Bills at home in the final week of the season. That sets up really well for the Dolphins to close strong and maybe even win that division. Speaking of setups, Pete's finally got his working. He's texted me and said, "Tell Breach to shut up." Right, look at that. The modern marvel of technology. Pete Prisco, what's up, buddy?
By the way, I had nothing to do with that, so I have no idea what they're doing. I just sit here.
I didn't think at this point in your career. I didn't think at this point in your career they'd jam you in a closet.
Well, you do know that they're redoing the studios here.
Oh, I know. The CBS Sports redoing the studio. Pete is in a. Are you on your laptop, or is this like a computer they're using in there?
It's one of their computers, and everything that they did, Janita fixed it. And even though during the course of that, Ryan's texting saying, "How many
Tell
old
Janita
men
she's a narc. Tell Janita she's a narc.
Do you need to have on? I mean, how many people do you need to get that old man on?" That's what he said. I saw it, Ryan. You think?
Janita told on me.
He had a knife to my throat, Ryan.
The live on YouTube. All right, Pete. We'll get to. We already talked about the top 5. Breach, actually, do you want him to answer your question on the 5-1 teams? Pete,
yeah.
You gotta leave one 5-1 team out of the. Breach posited you get $40,000. You got to bet $10,000 on each team, which you can have to pick one team you're not betting on to win the Super Bowl. Which 5-1 team are you
don't trust them?
Oh, okay. Let me think.
It's Niners, Chiefs.
No. Oh yeah.
Eagles.
He knows his top 5, Brinson.
Dolphins and Lions.
And we can't tell you what we said until you answer.
I'm probably going to say of the Niners will be there because I picked them to win the Super Bowl, so they're going to be there. They'll be healthy. The Eagles will be around. They haven't played well, but they'll be around. I'm probably going to go with the Lions.
You're cutting the Lions.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Who did you guys cut?
I cut the Eagles.
Eagles. And who'd you say, Breach?
I cut the Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Mine was between, and I don't want to get the Dolphin Colt all mad at me again, but mine was between Miami and Detroit.
You know that producer Harry's a Dolphins fan, right?
I think San Francisco and the Eagles are better than the Lions. I cut the Lions.
Yeah,
and
fair enough. No, I think so. The Dolphins are. I mean, the Lions are playing better. At least last week.
Yeah, the Eagles aren't playing well. Jalen Hurts is not playing well.
I think the Lions are better than the Eagles. And if the Niners aren't healthy, I think you can make the case that the Lions are the best team in football.
You could beat the Chiefs.
You know what? To that point, Brenton,
Kelsey and Chris Jones, stop it.
The Lions are the only team in Prisco's top 5 that have a victory over a team in Prisco's top 5.
Chris Jones wasn't there. Stop it.
There are also only 2 teams, and this has been like a thing where you can like go back in history and look and I know Pete doesn't like the nerd stats or whatever, but DVOA, if you have a top 5 defense and a top 5 offense by DVOA, that is usually, it's usually indicative of a team that has a good chance of making a strong or a deep run in the playoffs. There are only 2 teams that have that. The Niners rank 2nd on offense. Obviously, Miami is 1st and 5th in defense. The Lions 4th on offense and 3rd in defense.
Wait, what's Miami's defense?
27th by DVOA.
Yeah, they're terrible defense.
Yeah, they're not great.